I should have been a little more prepared. When I started the video, I just hit the button and then thought, wait a second. You just saw behind the scenes of what happens when I'm not ready. I have to move the mic. What did I say? Move the mic? I said it. We're sticking with it. That's exactly what I meant to say. Before we get started, if you can click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Click on that thanks if you'd like to. Donate to the channel, request a video. Your name sponsors the video. This is, sorry, I gotta scroll up. This is, which one was this? This is number 6, if my math is correct, and that's what comes after 5 and before 7. So let's say 6, just guessing. This is, oh, I gotta move my drink again. How the Ottomans became Sultans of Rum. Oh, all right. I got a feeling that's it's too easy, right? It's not going to be rum as I would know it. It's going to be rum as I would know it. This was requested. The last one I released, I think it was like 8 days ago, I think it said. So that would have been last week. So let's get into this one. Kings and Generals, or K's and G's. That's what I like to call them. I've never called them that.
Although the Ottomans had managed to force the vassalization of Moravian Serbia during the aftermath of the Battle of Kosovo, casualties in that battle had been massive, and as a result, a power vacuum had arisen in the Balkans. With its armies in southeastern Europe severely depleted, and its former sultans slain on the battlefield, the Ottoman Empire, under its new sultan Bayezid I, was in a state of uncertainty and more vulnerable to outside invasions from its hostile neighbours in the Balkans and Anatolia than in any previous period in the country's history. Although the situation in the Balkans was slowly settling down after the climax in hostilities in Kosovo, elsewhere the steady peace that Edirne had crafted between the various Turkic beyliks of Anatolia was slowly falling apart. In this episode on the history of the Ottoman Empire, we will cover Sultan Bayezid's conquest of Asia Minor and the rising tensions with the Christian powers of Europe which flared up in its wake. Throughout this series, we'll be mentioning Janissaries, who were elite troops of the Ottoman Empire, so we wanted to highlight a way to learn more about the lives of these picked men through our sponsor Magellan TV. In particular, turn as important, since the They Would System series here added is included in. During the reign of Murad I, the Ottoman state underwent a major transformation within its military and bureaucratic ranks, as the Timur and Divshirme systems were institutionalized throughout the Sultanate's Balkan territories. With the centralizing Ottoman state relying more on its newly established Balkan political class for governance and war, the independently minded Turkic Ghazi warbands of old, who were present since the days of Osman Ghazi, began slowly losing political influence in Edirne. Many Turkic groups in Anatolia felt that the Ottoman Sultanate had become too sympathetic to the Christian elements of its Balkan holdings, and too hostile to the Islamic Ghazi traditions of old. In addition to the fratricide of the popular Shahzada Yaqub and the decline in the Ottomans' ability to project power in Anatolia after their massive losses at Kosovo, the Ghazi warbands within the Sultanate and the other various Turkic beyliks of Western Anatolia began to become increasingly antsy in their desire to throw off Ottoman overlordship. Seeking to take advantage of the region's political unrest and Murad I's sudden death, during the spring of 1390, the ruler of the powerful Karamanid state, Alaeddin Ali Bey, would conduct a surprise invasion into Ottoman territories. He would be accompanied by the many smaller Turkic beyliks of Western Anatolia, whose allegiance regularly flip-flopped between the Ottomans and Karamanids, seeking to play the two major powers of the region off one another in order to maintain their independence. In a short period of time, the newly formed Turkic coalition would capture the Ottoman buffer towns of Akşehir and Beyşehir, in addition to Kütahya, thus sparking panic in Edirne. The new Sultan of the Ottomans did not stay idle as his domains in Anatolia were being chipped away. First obtaining a fatwa in order to officially
So, I was this close to screaming, and wondering what that was behind me. It's just, it's the video. Yep. That's a wall. But for a split second, I was like, what's behind me? Yep. I apologize. Sometimes the stupidity just, it hits and it hits hard. So I apologize.
Actually declare wars against fellow Muslim states. Bayezid, along with an Ottoman army made out of mostly European vassal troops and his own household troops, would cross into Anatolia with the intent of waging a lightning-fast war in the region. The Ottoman Sultan would also be accompanied by his vassal lords, the newly crowned Serbian royal Stefan Lazarevic, and the junior Byzantine co-emperors John VII and Manuel II. In a single military campaign during the summer and fall of 1390, Bayezid and his armies would conquer the Yamianid, Aydinid, Metanesha and Samarkand beyliks in quick succession, absorbing their significant wealth in the process. Moreover, the isolated Byzantine town of Philadelphia, the last imperial town left in Anatolia, was finally transferred to Ottoman rule after a short siege. After wintering in Ankara and resupplying his army, Bayezid resumed his Anatolian campaign the following spring, which
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to, about the Philadelphia and how they named Philadelphia, even though this is like, 1390 or whatever, 1400. They clearly named Philadelphia after the American Philadelphia, which was named in like the 1600s. So they totally copied it 200 or 300 years before the Americans did it. It's like, be original, guys, stop copying us in the future.
Resulted in the fall of the Hamindid and Tekka beyliks, in addition to the reconquest of the towns of Akshehir and Beyshehir from the Karamanids. After capturing...
They're just... like, I don't want to say this lightly, but they're just like, no respect at all. Oh, this is 1390, 91, 90... Yeah, so they're just kind of like, oh, okay, you wanna take two cities? We're just gonna go ahead and take a big portion of your land. And there's nothing you're going to do about it.
Covering large swaths of Anatolia within a short period, mainly due to the exploits of Stefan Lazarevic and his Serbian shock cavalry, Bayezid now had a large source of manpower to call on for future military campaigns into Europe. Seeing that his Turkic coalition in western Anatolia had fallen so quickly to Bayezid, Alaeddin Ali Bey scrambled to find new allies, entering into an alliance with the Jandarid Beylik and the former lands of the Eretnid Beylik, which was now ruled by an Islamic scholar turned sultan called Qadi Burhanuddin. However, this new alliance would prove futile, as Ottoman forces would catch the Karamanid Bey by surprise, swiftly storming into his capital of Konya and capturing the city without bloodshed. Despite his decisive and crushing victories, Sultan Bayezid did not want to further antagonize the Turkoman nobles of the region with his war of conquest. To that end, he concluded a relatively lenient peace treaty with Alaeddin Ali Bey, in which the Karamanid ruler would submit to Ottoman vassalage and his territories reduced to the lands east of the stream of Çarşamba. It was also during this period in which Bayezid, in an attempt to legalize his claim over all of Anatolia, would brandish himself as the Sultan of Rum, a title that was once held by the former Seljuk sultans of old. With the Karamanids once again submitting to Ottoman supremacy in Anatolia, Bayezid now turned his attention up north to the Jandarid Beylik. In yet another lightning-fast military campaign,
he's going after the people then that sided with him, with... I can't say his name. Ali. He's going after these guys. That's got to be the choice. It's got to be the choice. It's got to be the path. But wait a minute. How does he know that they side? Well, I don't know. Maybe they're more likely to go against anything Ottoman or he just doesn't like him. Either way.
During the summer of 1391, Ottoman forces captured the Genderid capital of Kastamonu and annexed the Beylik into the empire. After plundering the former Genderid countryside for some time, Bayezid now turned his gaze to the domains of Kadibahanidin. After swiftly capturing the border towns of Amisya and Çorum during the fall of the same year, Bayezid seemed poised to complete his total conquest of Anatolia.
The city of Çorum is home to approximately 3,500-year-old ancient city of Hattusa, which was the capital of the... Oh, geez, guys. You got to come up with easier names for me. Is that... Wait a minute, I've heard that. Is that Hittite? The Hittite Empire. Why do I feel like I'm saying it weird? The Hittite. 3,500-year-old ancient city of Hattusa. Wow. Stupid question. Wait a minute. The city of Çorum is home to approximately... Oh, okay. So the city of Çorum had that Hattusa city kind of in it, and maybe Çorum, or maybe the name changed, I'm going to guess. So it's now Çorum, but inside that city that is now, there's maybe a section that's that 3,500-year-old. Stupid question. Is that city still, was it destroyed or anything like that? I'm also going to pause for a second because it is pretty warm and I got to get a fan on me. So I'm going to pause it right now, but I want you to think about it. But the pause is going to be like, and then I'll be back and I'll expect an answer. So pause. Okay. So I just want to say something. I wanted to cheat for a millisecond. And so I asked my phone, is the ancient city of Hattusa still around? And you know what my phone said? No, Hattusa is not an ancient city. It is a city located in Rogers and Wagner counties, Oklahoma. So my phone's stupid. Let's try this again. Stupid phone. Oh. Still around. It's got to be still around. Yes, Hattusa is still around in the sense that its extensive ruins are a major archaeological site in Turkey. Okay. It was the capital of I'm going to call it the Hittite Empire. I swear I've heard that name. I've done a lot of videos, so I'm sure I've heard it. But I just hope I'm not mispronouncing it. I've mispronounced mostly a lot of stuff, so what's that first? It was the capital of the Hittite Empire, where the empire and its civilization are long gone. Oh, really? There's got to be people still related to that empire that are still I don't think that they just completely, we're going to do DNA checks. Nope, you're clear. Cool. Oh, you have 3% of you. Stab you with the bayonet. I don't think that happened. The remnants of the city, including fortifications, temples, and gates, still stand and can be visited. Oh, that's really cool. 3,500 years. That's almost as old as the United States of America. That made me laugh. Sorry. We're celebrating 250 years, and some of the people here are like, no empire has ever lasted that long. You sure about that? People in England are like, we have churches that are older than you. Visitors can explore the remains of the city. That's really cool. That's really cool. Oh, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Oh, that's awesome. Highlighting its historical and cultural importance. That's awesome. That's great. Then hopefully they're really trying what they can. What was that supposed to mean? They're really trying to preserve it. You don't have to worry about, suddenly a McDonald's popping up there. Because I'm sure they would try. No, everyone wanted. The Hittite Empire wanted a McDonald's here. Trust me. They emailed us back in 1394. All right, sorry, I'm just entertaining myself now. Back to the video.
However, after a sudden counter-offensive, led by Burhanuddin himself, culminating in the Battle of Kirktalim and the death of Bayezid's son, Shahzada Ertugrul, Ottoman forces withdrew back into Jandarid lands in defeat.
Didn't see that coming. Okay, I'm not gonna... okay.
As Bayezid was making final preparations to once again invade the domains of Cadi Burhanuddin the following spring, major news from Europe had begun trickling into the Sultan's tent. With the majority of Ottoman armies preoccupied in Anatolia, King Sigismund of Hungary and the Serbian nobleman Vuk Brankovic had begun plundering the domains of Serbian ruler Stefan Lazarevic in an attempt to push back Ottoman presence in the Balkans. Meanwhile, Voivode Mircea of Wallachia had also begun a series of military operations in the region by raiding deep into Ottoman Bulgaria and conquering the vital Ottoman Danube fortress town of Silistra.
When your empire is that spread out, and legit, the only way to really get to it is, boat here. And I know they're kind of these two guys joined here. They're really not a part of your empire. So you're so spread out, and this is your and I understand there's isn't there what's the word? There is, I apologize. I need the fan going because it is warm in here. There is I'm gonna say maybe a bridge that connects it today, but probably not then. If there is, I mean, I know it's not an actual. I keep wanting to say a river. It's separate, right? It's not completely land, like a land bridge where you can actually cross. There's water that runs in between, so it's not actually connected. Right? Or am I completely off on that? But anyways, you have to, even if it is, you have to come all this way through this little land bridge, this little land gap. Why do I keep calling it that? This little section of land. That's the better word. And then come over here. If you're stationed down here, I think they're in Bursa. If you're down here, this is just me throwing it out. Why do I care about any of this land up here? Other than I want it, I need it, I want to, have a large stretch of land. I would be more interested owning up to there and all this over here, and further east. That would be my interest. But who am I? What do I know? Because all this up here is difficult. Because look at all these other countries. And yes, you have all of these other countries over here. But if your base is right here, then you've got to cross. You've got to get boats involved. You've got to try to cross through here if they'll even let you. Yeah, it just seems like this is a waste of land to have. This is just my opinion, which obviously means absolutely nothing, because if I was in charge, yeah, you wouldn't want me in charge. I'll just say that. Unless we're playing the game Civilization on PlayStation 3, then I'm really good. Give me some Sherman tanks. I'll roll right through here. Yeah, I don't mess around. But it's not. It's the real world.
The Wallachian voivode had also conquered the northern half of the Despotate of Dobruja, thus gaining access to a number of lucrative Black Sea ports in the process. In addition to these Christian incursions into the Balkans, relations between Edirne and Constantinople were becoming increasingly strained, as a power struggle between the various factions of the Palaiologos dynasty erupted in the Byzantine capital city. Since the end of the previous Palaiologos civil war in 1379, The Byzantine realm was held together by an uneasy peace between the political faction of Andronikos IV and his son and co-emperor John VII, who predominantly ruled from Salimbria, and the faction of John V and his sons co-emperor Manuel II and despot Theodori I, who predominantly ruled from Constantinople and Morea. Ever since the political settlement of 1381,
Byzantine. That was the name of of what it was. And I knew that, but it wasn't coming to me. My fault.
the mainline Byzantine succession from Constantinople was determined to be passed through John V to his eldest son Andronikos IV, and then to his son John VII, thus bypassing Manuel II's claim to the throne. However, with the untimely death of Andronikos IV in 1385, the political settlement of 1381 was brought into question, as the 15-year-old John VII was now alone in his bid for the Byzantine throne. Distrustful of his grandfather and uncle, John VII would travel to Genoa in 1389 to solicit support for his claim to the Byzantine throne. But it would be the ascension of Bayezid I the same year which would give the young Byzantine emperor an opportunity to seize Constantinople. During the spring of 1390, Bayezid, who distrusted both John V and Manuel II for their open defiance against Ottoman suzerainty, would lend troops to John VII. The Ottoman Sultan thought, by supporting the most junior claimant to the Byzantine throne, that he could gain a more trustworthy and dependent ally in Constantinople. Everything went as planned for Bayezid, as John the Younger would swiftly seize Constantinople, but after only 4 months of rule, Venetian forces under Manuel II would retake the imperial city, re-establishing the status quo. After seeing that his plans for the Romans had been thwarted, a furious Bayezid would demand both Manuel II and John V join his Ottoman host for his upcoming Anatolian campaign, along with a minor Byzantine retinue of cavalry. During the subsequent Ottoman military campaign from 1390 to 1391, the two co-Byzantine emperors would serve as de facto political hostages to the Ottoman Sultan. While Ottoman armies were preoccupied with Anatolia, Emperor John V saw a good opportunity to shore up his defences at home, and ordered the strengthening of Constantinople's fortifications, particularly the city's Golden Gate complex. After hearing of this news from the Byzantine capital, an enraged...
I'm sorry, did I miss something? Did I fall asleep for a second? How did these two guys end up in jail? Is it because they joined him and then he locked them up? Did I miss something? I'm sorry. I hate to do this, but I have to go back because I feel like I completely missed something. My fault. I'm sorry.
Seeing that his plans for the Romans had been thwarted, a furious Bayezid would demand both Manuel II and John V join his Ottoman host for his upcoming Anatolian campaign, along with a minor Byzantine retinue of cavalry. During the subsequent Ottoman military campaign from 1390 to 1391, the two co-Byzantine emperors would serve as de facto political hostages to the Ottoman Sultan.
Okay. I heard that, but it didn't register until I saw the jail cell over both of them. And then I thought, I was completely lost. My fault. I'm sorry.
While Ottoman armies were preoccupied with Anatolia, Emperor John V saw a good opportunity to shore up his defences at home, and ordered the strengthening of Constantinople's fortifications, particularly the city's Golden Gate complex. After hearing of this news from the Byzantine capital, an enraged Bayezid I would threaten John V with the blinding of his son, Manuel II, if he did not cease the construction project at once.
Either take out the Byzantines or don't. I'm getting annoyed. Why are you leaving it there? Why are you leaving them there? Does it make sense to anyone else? What is this need to keep them there? Is keeping them there stopping the Roman army from trying to have a crusade? Is Constantine, It's a movie. Is Constantinople slash current day Istanbul that important to them that they're willing to go to war if he attacks the Byzantines? There's so much that I'm just not. It's not that I'm not understanding. I feel like I'm missing out. And again, I'm not doing these videos back to back to back to back to back. You know, I did this last one. I'm just trying to explain it. I did this last one probably about I took a 3-week break. So I did this last one well over a month ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So but even then, I'm still just not understanding why this need to keep the Byzantines around. I'm getting annoyed. Bayezid, make a decision. Either do or don't.
The reluctant 58-year-old would submit to Bayezid's demands before proceeding to shut himself up in his palace in humiliation. In the first months of 1391, the ailing senior Byzantine emperor would die of natural causes after reigning over what was left of the Byzantine realm for more than 50 years. Upon hearing the news of his father's death, Manuel II would slip out of Ottoman captivity from Bursa and rush back to Constantinople before his nephew John VII could claim the imperial throne. Hearing the news of Manuel's escape from his captivity and his coronation in Constantinople, and feeling robbed of the opportunity to pick a Roman monarch of his choosing, a now even angrier Bayezid put forth new demands upon the new Byzantine emperor. The Sultan of the Ottomans would demand for the construction of a Turkic quarter in Constantinople, in addition to a mosque and Islamic cadi to oversee the new settlement. Finishing off his humiliating list of demands for Manuel II, Bayezid would state to the Byzantine monarch, "If you do not accept my orders and do as I command, then shut the gates of your city and govern what lies behind them, for everything beyond the gates belongs to me." A powerless Manuel II would bow down to Bayezid's demands, and 3 months later would be summoned to the Sultan's camp in the former lands of the Jandarid Beylik to swear loyalty to his new liege lord. Although Ottoman relations with Constantinople seemed stable for the moment, the same could not be said about the situation in the Balkans, as Serbian, Hungarian and Wallachian incursions in the region continued plunging deep into Ottoman territory. Putting his military campaign against Cadi Burhanuddin on pause, Bayezid, along with a recently replenished Ottoman army, would begin the march back to Europe in the last months of 1391. Meanwhile, in Edirne, Ottoman Grand Vizier Cendalizade Ali Pasha would coordinate limited retaliatory raiding operations into the lands of Wallachia, Hungary and Bosnia. However, by the turn of the year, Sultan Bayezid I and his main Ottoman host would enter into Europe after a lightning-fast forced march, catching the Christian powers of the region off guard. The Ottoman Sultan would begin his European military campaign by first marching on the domains of Vuk Brankovic, the last Serbian nobleman that had yet to submit to Ottoman vassalage. Retracing his father's march during the Kosovo campaign of 3 years past, would swiftly capture the major Serbian town of Skopje, forcing Brankovic to submit to Ottoman suzerainty. With all of Serbia now under his rule, Bayezid then turned his attention to Mircea of Wallachia. In a blistering campaign, Ottoman forces would reconquer Silistra from the voivode, in addition to the southern half of the Despotate of Dobruja. In addition to these conquests, Bayezid would spend the rest of the year ramping up Ottoman raids into Hungary and Bosnia. After years of fending off numerous Ottoman invasions into his realm, the Bulgarian Empire under Tsar Ivan Shishman had been reduced to a small collection of lands surrounding the Danube fortress town of Nicopolis and the main capital of Tarnovo. Seeking to finally finish off the Bulgarians before they could enter into a potential alliance with Hungary and Wallachia, Bayezid would invade the Tsar's domain during the spring of 1393. Upon hearing the news of invasion, Ivan would abandon his capital at Tarnovo and retreat to the more formidable Nicopolis, the fortress town that Murad I had unsuccessfully besieged back in 1388. This time, the Sultan's eldest son, Suleiman Çelebi, led the Ottoman host. With Tarnovo left leaderless and Ottoman forces now converging on the city, the capital's defences would be left in the leadership of the Patriarch of Bulgaria, Euthymius of Tarnovo. Ultimately, the city could not hold. After 3 months of withstanding the Ottoman siege, the exhausted defenders of Tarnovo would surrender to Suleiman Çelebi, resulting in a mass migration of Turkic settlers into the former Bulgarian capital.
I just want to point out, there's some cool names. Like, I can't say it. I can't pronounce it. Hold on.
Ottoman siege, the exhausted defenders of Tarnovo would surrender to Suleiman Çelebi, resulting in a mass migration of Turkic settlers into the former Bulgarian capital.
I can't pronounce that one guy's name that surrendered. Erathimus? That wasn't true because there was no R in there. There's some really cool names in the old days. If I had children, I wouldn't name them that because it'd just be weird. If I name my kid Bayezid the 17th, people would be like, what? You don't know my channel.
With the Bulgarian realm now being reduced to Nicopolis, Ottoman armies would now march on the neighbouring Tsardom of Vidin, ruled by Ivan Shishman's half-brother Ivan Stratsimir. Before sharing the same fate as his fellow Bulgarian monarch, Stratsimir would submit to Ottoman vassalage, even accepting an Ottoman garrison to be stationed in his capital of Vidin. With large swaths of the Balkans now under Ottoman rule, during the winter of 1393, Sultan Bayezid I would call forth his Balkan vassals to meet with him in the town of Seres. Having serious doubts about the reliability of his Christian subjects' allegiances, the suspicious Ottoman Sultan wished to cement his authority over his vassals to ensure none were conspiring against him. Those who answered the call were Manuel II of the Byzantine Empire, Despot Theodori of Morea, John VII of Salimbria, Konstantin Dejanovich of Velbazhd, and lastly Stefan Lazarevich of Moravian Serbia. This call to meet spooked many, as it was rumoured that Bayezid would round up and murder all of his vassal lords in order to centralise his power in the Balkans, just like he had in Anatolia.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't have showed up for that. Absolutely not. And I would have sent a letter in advance, been like, yeah, I'm not showing up for that because you're going to kill me. Absolutely not. I'm not showing up for that. Now, if you want to come to my territory without anybody, any of your guards or army, and you want to just come into like my castle, whatever it is, my fortification, and you want to talk to me, yeah, I'll totally do it. But absolutely, I'm not going to no. And of course, they would say absolutely not, and then they would probably hunt me down and kill me.
This rumour would be false, and after a few days of exchanging pledges and promises to the Ottoman Sultan, all of the Christian lords participating in the meeting were free to go back to their own holdings.
I just want to say, that's very cool. Is it Bayezid? I almost said Bayezid. Bayezid. I got to give him credit for that because, yeah, that did not sound good. That didn't sound like a meeting I wanted to attend. And if I had not attended, as I just stated, I would be the only person that would have been killed.
However, this Ottoman exercise of psychological warfare would be the breaking point for Manuel II, as upon his return to Constantinople, he would suspend his ties with Edirne. The Byzantine emperor hoped that the mighty Theodosian walls of his capital city would deter any future attempt at an Ottoman siege. Upon hearing the news that his Roman vassal was playing hooky with him, Bayezid would begin raiding the outskirts of Constantinople before blockading the Byzantine capital altogether. In addition to directly waging war against Manuel II, Byzantine Thessaly would be quickly conquered by local Ottoman marcher lords, resulting in a territorial expansion which saw the Sultanate expand as far south as the Gulf of Corinth. In addition to the blockade of Constantinople, Bayezid would begin the building of a waterfront fortress on the narrowest point of the Bosporus in order to block maritime traffic from the Black Sea to the Byzantine capital. The construction of the Anadoluhisarı, or Anatolian Castle, and its fast completion in only a matter of months, would display the Ottoman Sultan's true desire to become the undisputed ruler of the Romans. However, Bayezid's sudden blockade of one of Christendom's largest cities would have a rippling effect in Europe. As a result of the siege, and Manuel II's pleas for European military assistance, King Sigismund of Hungary would call for an anti-Ottoman crusade. Soon after, the popes in Rome and Avignon, who were in the middle of the Western Schism, would proclaim the start of a crusade against Bayezid. As envoys and petitions were sent across Europe for the upcoming crusade, the Sultan of the Ottomans would not deter his choice of blockading the Byzantine capital city. Confident in his abilities as a military general, and coming off of a string of impressive victories in both the Balkans and Anatolia, Bayezid decided to double down and go on the offensive. In our next video on Ottoman history,
do you remember when I said earlier in the video, what's he scared of? Another crusade? I was half joking when I said that. No, I got it. That's exactly what he was expecting. My bad. That's my bad on that one. I was off. I was wrong. Wow. And I didn't realize that the Constantinople. I'm sorry. I should do this. Istanbul, Constantinople. I'm phasing. Okay, I'm back. Istanbul, Constantinople. This little land grab here, and they had all this territory over here. Let me flip that. Sorry, there, and then all this territory over here, and he attacked. Bayezid attacked all of that before he attacked any of that, and it almost felt like no one cared, but Constantinople. No, we can't have that. So I've got a feeling. I have a feeling that the next one, first major Ottoman defeat. Oh, I shouldn't look at that. Battle of Rovine, 1395. How the Ottomans defeated the last crusade. Okay, I'm going to stop reading. I'm finding out what's happening. All right, well, we're going to end this here. I hope you enjoyed. I did. I was having fun. I was entertaining myself. So until next time, which is the next episode, have a good day, have a good night.